Hello YouTube. In this video I want to talk a little bit about the integration of the feminine in a man's life and how failure to do so, to integrate his inner feminine component in relation to his emotions, in relation to his unconscious, that other aspect of himself that he tends to repress, will eventually lead to very, very deep projections onto feminine figures in his life, and will be the end of him. So I talked a little bit on this channel about integration of the anima, which is a man's feminine side, and how Western society really does not encourage this for men, historically speaking. And as a result, in the new world, there can be a lot of gender confusion amongst men because they're not well integrated with themselves. And how this typically manifests itself in reality is that you have a man, he hasn't integrated his anima, and as a result, his anima, that muse, that beauty, that energy, all of it gets projected on the outside world. So he doesn't see the facet of that's within himself. And so instead, when he sees it outside in a woman, he thinks that she's his everything. And while there's going to be cross-pollination, while there's going to be an aspect of that involved in any relationship, because that's the basis of the love, if he's unable to differentiate between that which is within himself and that which is without, he's going to fall victim to a very strong projection. And that projection is what eventually leads to perhaps a friendship turning into a relationship, or what was meant to just be a woman who's a friend, he ends up having feelings, and that ends up being the end of that friendship, because he's unable to differentiate between his anima and the person that's outside in the real world. And you see this in very stark contrast, and it's usually the cause of a lot of divorces too, where the husband will project his anima onto his wife, and suddenly his wife is supposed to be Wonder Woman. She's supposed to care for him, clean for him, cook for him, be his mistress, be his wife, be his mother, and all sorts of projections that are involved because he has not been able to delineate between his inner feminine component that he is responsible for maintaining connection with, and the woman outside, who is a separate figure, and who is at the end of the day a human being, and it's because he's so enraptured by the ideal and the projection that he can't really see her as an individual human being, and instead she becomes something of a strong fantasy for him. And then obviously when she's unable to meet those expectations, it causes rifts and problems in the relationship. And there are other ways that this manifests itself. So if you look at like a man's relationship to his daughter, sometimes this projection can even reach there to where he might expect of his daughter to clean for him, to cook for him, and sometimes if it's really severe enough, it can lead to problems such as molestation and things of that nature. And I think this is a very relevant and pertinent problem in modern society, and it also begs the question: well, why are men so unable to differentiate between these two figures? And I think it's probably something that I've talked about a little bit about the cavalier nature of Western society, where we are taught to overcome, to push through, to wield a sword in some way. It's the hero's journey here, but he's not. It's not about carving one's way through. It's literally about bullying one's way through, will to powering one's way through, and as you know, the problem that we're facing right now as men is that you need to have more of more precision when you're dealing with your inner world. It's no longer like, hey, there's some exterior force that I can just conquer, and that's how the country or the family finds peace. It's much more like being precise about the inner images that you have and your feelings, and dealing with those. It's like the difference between a javelin and a sword. You know, the Western society is the sword, but a javelin requires more precision and more understanding of the self. And the way this manifests itself is that I know several people in my life who find themselves in these toxic relationships, and I think the level of negative emotional involvement is a manifestation of their inner world. There was this one guy that I know, talking about this woman that he dated, where he just told her, "Hey, I need a minute, leave me alone, I need a minute." And I think the strong emotional connection to her in that negative fashion, and the way that she responded, like, don't leave me, don't give me, I don't want another minute, finish talking to me now. And that amount of heightened emotional tension that was just like clashing against each other was a result of those projections, right? And really, you can think of it in that nature is that there's a projection involved. He was really speaking back to his anima. She was really speaking back to her animus. And it's funny how these relationships end up being less so about the other human that's in front of you and more so about your relationship to the human that's within. I'll leave you guys with that in this video. I'm going to be coming back with more content about masculine and feminine roles, dynamics, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Talk to you guys next time.